Nobody has ever used Blender to make a feature film to this level of success before. And that's a huge deal because that means that anybody, me, you, can get into making animation and be successful. Usually there's giant budgets behind the movies that are winning at the Oscars, and this time there wasn't. Flow was the first animation out of an independent studio to win an Oscar, and only the second international movie. This is huge and super important for the animation industry, especially if it's something that you're interested in. Typically when you're making an animated movie, obviously you're going to start with the story, which they did, but the next phase is usually going to be concept art. While they did make a little bit of concept art for Flow, a lot of energy was spent elsewhere. The director Gint Zilbadois said that they just didn't have the time and money to spend creating concept art for everything. So instead, he basically jumped straight into making animatics. It's the movie before the movie. Usually this will be made out of storyboards set to timing and dialogue, but they actually didn't make storyboards for this movie either. Instead, he built the environment and the characters in kind of a rough form of what they would end up being, and discovered what the shots would look like from there. So he would go into his software, which is Blender, a free software by the way, which is absolutely insane. More on that later.
And I explore the environment with this virtual camera and I look for ideas and find shots. I discover things. I know that some artists and some filmmakers, they can really visualize the scenes in their head. But I don't have this ability.
I have some comparisons on screen here of the difference between the animatic and the final render. I think it's so fascinating to see this behind the scenes stuff because you really get into the mind of the director and you get to pick out the decisions that they made in hindsight. This is usually why concept art is actually my favorite part of a film, because you get to see the raw emotion of the story that they were conveying. Getting back to the production, using Blender for this movie was frankly genius, but also super risky. Not only were they able to use this software to create a film that would resonate with hundreds of thousands of people, win an Oscar, and pave the way for other independent animators to have a chance in the industry, but they did it on a free app that you can go download on your computer right now and start learning how to use from YouTube. The final film wasn't even rendered on a supercomputer. It was rendered on his laptop. I'd be willing to wager it's a pretty nice laptop considering the final outcome of the movie, but still, way cheaper than a supercomputer. Pixar's render farm has 2,000 machines, 24,000 cores. Yeah, I can guarantee his laptop wasn't quite meeting those marks. And not to mention, they did all of that without there being any dialogue in the movie. The entire movie was focused on putting you into the minds of these animals with their body language and their facial expressions. They had animators looking up cat reference videos on YouTube. They were going to zoos to study different animals. They were filming actual sounds that the animals would make. It just goes to show that a limited budget doesn't mean you can't create something amazing.
But I still want to do it kind of independently. I don't want to work with a huge studio, and because I think with a smaller independent project we can tell more personal stories and tell them with more creative techniques.
Have you seen Flow? Let me know what you thought about it down in the comments below. And if you haven't, you should definitely go watch it. Otherwise, until next time, bye!